So it's coming in, yeah, it starts at the beginning of 2021. So the this is tied into after the next American election. And so there'll be a new focus or a new way of looking at things. There's a new understanding, but there'll be new business approaches, new ways of looking at things, and probably a greater social conscience coming in because it's in the Aquarius. Okay, but as the social conscience comes in, this is it creates a teamwork or a group consensus of what needs to be done to fix the planet, get rid of pollution, the climate change. All these issues are strong issues that we're all rallying around. But they do take away from the individual freedoms and the individual right to just be creative and do what I want to do, the Leo side of things. But the teamwork will be required at this time. But it will affect education, knowledge, learning systems. I think in terms of the usefulness of astrology, it becomes far more useful, and it's getting better and better during this period. Probably more and more people will be using it. But it depends how the group and how things go, how the world develops. So in people's charts, that Jupiter-Saturn, where it comes in, the house it's in, is usually a good, like any aspect of Jupiter or Saturn. So Jupiter is a good thing. Jupiter is expansive and learning, and Saturn is the responsibilities and duties. So if you're wise, you understand the responsibilities you have and you know how to work within it. Then you can guide your Mars properly to accomplish better things. So when Jupiter and Saturn together, that's wisdom. When Mars aligns with that, then Jupiter is able to guide the Mars, and it's not so aggressive. It learns to align, take care of the things that have to be taken care of. That's a really positive thing. So there's a new beginning wherever that happens in your chart. So these are the transit things. These are a little bit more advanced, but the question was asked, so I wanted to, that's about as far as it would take it to do that. But it does bring, this is like level 7 stuff, and these things come up, and really it goes beyond anywhere after that. Let's see. The other thing she asked is more, the second question she asked is a bit more, it's an interesting question. It's one everyone wants to, she says, do you believe in telepathy and magic, and what aspects indicate this in a person's chart? And she says something about this left, right, upside down stuff. I'm not sure what she said about that, but just, it's true, like telepathy, magic. Magic is like astrology, it's a language, but it's an attempt to deal with nature and find meaning in nature. So astrology is very prevalent in magic and magical books and people that study magic. But the people who are going and trying to study the mysticism or the meditation are trying to become devoted inside, they usually feel the magic and the world and the sensual things are lower energy or difficult energy. But I've met people in both, and I've gained insights from both. There's some brilliant people writing in all different layers. So to me, astrology is like the Rosetta Stone that mixes all these languages, where all these different teachings can come together and work together, because it's objective and subjective. It's not, science is just objective, but astrology is objective and subjective. So it includes the subjective art forms, personal expressions, things of that, and it includes the outer objective behavioral things as well. But the telepathic, so magic, that's its own question, but there's a lot of really good, you get into mythology and into magic, and there's all kinds of books and materials that are written that use planets as symbols and have associations to planets as gods or planets as spirits, and you have planets as energies, and you can tune into them. They stretch your ability to understand astrology. So like if you took literature, if you took the Iliad and the Odyssey, or the Greek Helen of Troy and all these stories, the gods are coming down and playing, interfering in people's lives. If people that have a relationship in people's lives, it's totally astrology. The planet's coming down having this effect, but they use it as the god is doing this, and they have this relationship to that god, or they go against that god and they get punished. So it's just ways of using a language. I had to reread most of the books that inspired me a lot once I learned astrology, because I saw things so much more inclusively. That was useful to do that. But so a lot of magic sits on the edge of what you would call healing. Planets herbs, healing properties, stones, healing properties, special energies, crystals. These things would go into the realm of magic, but they're often considered in the realm of healing. So there's a whole branch coming in there, but really there's no medicine. Medicine started with astrology, the planets, the plants, their associations of planets, the energies, what's healing, what's not. It came out of the relationship of nature to herbs, to people, to what's healing. So the medicine has that. Magic is another area that goes into these things, and has rituals and things around it. And they all have astrological insights in it, but it's not the definition of astrology, it's a use of astrology. It's an application of it. Just like art, songs, music, color, these are all applications of astrology. You know, really, if you want to understand what a color is, if you understand the sign and you see the color of it, you'll understand what the color is doing. That's huge. So, okay, I'm not going to stay on the magic. There's a lot of really interesting books, a lot of great magical people applying their will and trying to develop their experiences of mystical, magical things relating to spirits and meanings. And they go into the zodiac as seeing it as personalized spirits that they can relate to. So within our realms of our imagination, there's so many ways we can go to develop and use astrology or apply it. It's the standard behind it. It's like I think of it as the art of God. You know, like it's the music and the art of God. It's how we all move around. But with the telepathy or intuitive things or mystical perceptions, yes, those things will show up. Some people have it more than others. We all have it in different colorings, but some colorings will come up more irrational, more intuitive. You know, sometimes a moon in a water sign, a moon on an angle of a chart can bring out really intuitive, mystical things. Telepathy is more of a mental perception of picking up ideas. But really, when you're in love with someone and you're one with them, you can hear what they're thinking before they say it. It's a natural thing. It depends how sensitized you become, how evolved you become in your life. So there's an evolution in astrology coming out of you work through the houses, you live in the worldly circumstances. As you grow your concerns, you begin to develop higher levels of understanding. And you begin to understand the planets in different ways. And as they grow, you know, you can understand, I mean, just look at your life. You understand things very differently when you're 13 or 14 and going through puberty, and your understanding then is a totally different take than when you're 30 or when you're 45. Totally different perceptions. Each one inclusive of the other, but not always clued in. So most people are running around playing their instruments and they're not tuned in. Astrology is about tuning your instruments and being able to get more tuned and more aligned and more sharp. But sometimes Neptune in a prominent position in their chart will bring out mystical, intuitive concepts. But telepathy specifically is definitely more a mental perception, be able to read minds. Yes, that can happen. It's going to be tied up to Mercury, but it has to have an environment, and the rest of the chart has to be evolved enough to be able to be peaceful enough or calm enough to hear the frequency without all the static of everything else around it. So your best way, I mean, I can talk about really to do this properly, I'd have to pull out 20 charts of people I knew that were telepathic or people that wrote books like that, which I studied, I looked at, but like you have to pull up, look at them, compare them, and that's a good way of following your astrology. So yeah, I believe these things happen, and certainly psychic, mental things, intuitive things, just different ways of perceiving and picking up things. Yes, of course they happen. And when you've got an autistic kid or someone who has special needs, some kids come into this world and they're helpless in terms of their physical body. Some souls come in and they can't do anything objectively. They're never going to hurt anyone in the world. In fact, they're dependent and they're going to be having all these demands to have to take care of them. So, wow, what kind of life is that? But those very same souls, they have the ability to touch the hearts and souls of absolutely everyone they meet. Wow, most of us can't do that. It's an incredible purpose in life, even though it seems pathetic in our social interpretive world. So this is a big question, but I like the question. It's just something you could spend a whole night talking about and examples and doing around it. I'm just touching on the edge of it. But your moon is your feelings, and we all have a bio connection to our mother, or say a mother can know where you can be in another place, another city, and your mother knows if something bad or good is happening to you without even the phone call. So the phone call just calms you down a little bit. We're all connected to each other like this, but we end up grossly in the world running across different scenarios, not always keeping touch with our sensitivity. We're not allowing our relate to other people by sensitivity. So as we grow spiritually in our lives, we increase our sensitivity sphere just a little bit more, a little more sensitive. And then as we increase our sensitivity, we increase our awareness. Like we're aware, we're a bit more sensitive, a bit more inclusive. Wow. As we're increasing this sensitivity, we're growing on our spiritual path, but we're also increasing our sensitivity. So as we increase the sensitivity, we feel more pain. As soon as we say, I don't want that pain, we start closing off our sensitivity and backing up from our spiritual path. It's not that the spiritual path has to be painful, but there are times when it comes up like that. Pain's a great teacher. There are times when we have to deal with it. So getting into the timing of things, of when things happen, that comes in the transits, and then more mystically in the progressions at level 9 and 10. So there's layers of coming up to this. So you're going to be wondering about it in natal charts. Yeah, it's worth doing. Look at it, check at people and say, wow, they got that. Then try and see who else has it. So in the forum, this is something we never had before this past year. I worked hard to get it. We have a database of 1,000 people across history with their birth dates and times. And for each category, daylight is greater, nighttime is greater, fire, water, each category, it lists all the people who have that same category. So going in to see who's got, same with the planets and the houses, rising, setting, in this house, that house, you can go in and check each category and see who's got that. It's perfect for research. So it's a perfect backup for as you're going in your studies. This starts to become available when you get to the planets and signs at level 2. You can get access to the planets and signs database, and you see who's got them. When you get to the houses, you have that. So there's ways of seeing, and there's probably 50 or 100 people listed in each category who've got that very factor.